Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. I love you all. My name is MiAh the King, and want to hear a funny little tidbit? Did you know that Australia is actually whiter than the moon? Okay, so thank you very much for clicking on this video, and I really hope you stick around for more. If not for the funny jokes and tidbits at the start of every single video, then perhaps because I can help you figure out if you need a game in 10 minutes or less. Now then, today we're taking a look at a game just released on Steam called Survive the Fall, a top-down, real-time action-adventure game taking place in a post-apocalyptic world. Developed by Angry Bulls Studio and published by Toplitz Productions, released in early access and selling for $25. So what even is this game anyway, and is it even worth it? Well, basically, I've already told you what this game is. The end of the world happened, and now you're living in this new world as a bunch of random survivors who came together. Now, survive, and that's pretty much it. So let's just dive right into the good and the bad, starting off first with the good. So the first positive point I'd like to make mention of is the gameplay. It's very stylized and unique. I've only ever seen one other game with gameplay like this. Not to say there aren't more, but I personally have only seen one other game called Ashlands that had gameplay similar to this, but only in terms of the camera angle and overall controls, not in actual gameplay mechanics. Here, you control between 1 and 3 scavengers who you can freely control as they move around and explore a map. Whilst doing that, you can harvest or scavenge damn near anything and get some kind of resources from it and then bring it back to your base to utilize for building stuff. The game has 2 main modes of play, the exploration scavenging section and the base building / management section. Both are really cool, and I don't want to spend all day talking about this, so I'm just going to sum up, so sorry if I miss some things. Basically, the combat here is not turn-based like I thought it would be. It's real-time, with unique aiming modes for when you utilize range weapons and dodge mechanics when you utilize melee weapons. There's stealth and stealth kills, as well as hiding the bodies of those you assassinated. There's scavenging everything, of course, but there's also utilizing weapons or tools or gear to help you traverse the very map you're exploring. I really like this idea because I can't tell you how many times I play these games and I'll uselessly take up an inventory slot with rope thinking it might come in handy only for it to never do so. But here, yeah, you're gonna need some random tools and items all the time for random things. Rope to climb up there, lockpick to unlock that, crowbar to open that, sledgehammer to bust through that, and I could legitimately keep going because that's definitely not all of them. Like, there's a torch that you can burn away stuff, see what I mean? Anyway, so you go about scavenging things and then bringing back as much junk as you can carry to your home base, where you're met with an entirely new way to play the game with completely different camera controls, camera angle, key bindings, and mechanics. Here you need to build up your base, repair weapons, craft tools, build homes, and keep your people happy, well-fed, and on a good sleep rotation, all while maintaining your night shift with a guard so that you don't get ambushed in the night by the roaming band of psycho fire worshippers. It's kind of like This War of Mine, except instead of living in a tiny house and being a side scroller where you scavenge these places and try not to die and all that other stuff, now it's a, third person view, kind of sort of top down, where you're exploring out in the open and, hoping you don't get raided at night. But basically the same thing. The longer I played the game, the more in-depth and invested the gameplay became, and eventually I was looking at my wife saying, I'm really enjoying this and could see myself getting lost in it. Isn't that right, love?
Yes.
To sum up, the gameplay here is phenomenal and very well designed in almost every single regard. Next up for the positives is the tutorial. It's not the best I've ever seen, but it's pretty good. It's not giving you walls of text, and it's not making the entire learning process super complicated. It comes at you in stages, gives you time to test and try out and learn, while keeping its descriptors nice and precise without being overbearing, and really allowing you to get a feel for the game at your own pace without serious consequences for your being a new player. Not a whole lot more to say than that. Basically, the tutorial wasn't like super awesome, but it did its job, which is more than I can say for a lot of games. Next up is the story, plot, and writing. Now, I've seen a bunch of post-apocalyptic games before, way too many in my own personal opinion. It's gotten so bad that I mostly just ignore them now because I've just been way more disappointed than satisfied. And sure, the story here isn't anything super special, but they did do something that a lot of these games don't do. They created immersion. They put in just enough effort and depth to draw me in, and the gameplay kept me in. The story is basic, right? The world ended, now deal with it. But they immediately introduce several factions of people out there and how they're trying to live. And then they immediately introduce where you fall here among that hierarchy. They engage you immediately with intense events and other things happening that make you want to progress and find out more, all while your main goal is and always will be the survival of you and your people. As for the writing quality itself, well, it wasn't bad and it wasn't cringy, so let's take it at that and be happy for it. Last but not least for the positives is the stability and the production value. These game devs were super nice to us today, ladies and gentlemen, and actually gave us a game with several custom animations, cutscenes, opening scenes, decent transitions, and a level of depth to the game that a lot of game devs nowadays don't think are really all that important. As for the stability, for me personally, the game never crashed, never dropped frames, or glitched, or bugged out, and for the most part was incredibly smooth and cohesive while I was playing, which obviously makes the playing a lot more enjoyable. And for an early access game, that's impressive. Unfortunately, though, that's all I got to say positively about the game that I felt worth mentioning, and now we got to go on to the negatives. But before that, just a friendly reminder that if you're enjoying the video, or at least finding it informative, I'd greatly appreciate it if you'd share the video, like the video, and join my Royal Guard by hitting subscribe. Also, hit that notification button too, as the whole point of my channel is meant to help you, and I can't do that if you're not notified when I put out new stuff. Alright? Alright. Now on to the negatives. So the first negative that really slapped me in the face was the graphics. The game is pretty ugly, and you cannot convince me otherwise. It's lacking in detail, sharpness, contrast, with bad color choices and bad color blending. The game looks like something from 10 years ago, and in my opinion committed the worst sin of all, made it difficult for me to identify or recognize anything due to the game's horrible graphics, making it damn near impossible for me to find anything I'm looking for. And when I'm in my base, I can barely see my people, let alone the specific details of my base because of the awful quality here. I'm sorry, but it's just ugly. Now, luckily, I'm also under the impression that graphics don't make the game, only enhance it. So to me personally, this is more of a minor issue, but I still wanted to bring attention to it. And I hope that they can clean this up a little bit, add some sharpness, add some better contrast, and maybe switch up the colors a little bit. Next up for the negatives is the sound design. It's not super awful though, but it does have its moments of awful. The voice acting in the beginning cutscene was great, but after that there's no more voice acting anywhere, which is more than a little annoying. I was actually getting hyped. The sound effects sound great half the time, and the other half the time they just don't. And there's little to no ambiance despite the fact that I'm traversing through a damn forest half the time. The music is average, not great, but not terrible, and this whole negative point could honestly disappear if the game actually manages to put in more effort, and with it being in early access, that's a good possibility. But sound design is essential for player immersion, and it needs to be on point, and here it was just below average across the board, and I hope that in time, as the game gets more developed, this will get more developed as well. The next thing I'd like to point out is the user interface and overall gameplay mechanics. Now, when you're out and about scavenging, the mechanics are decent. They make sense, they're cohesive, fluid, giving you a fun, enjoyable experience. But the second you get back to base, you'll be very frustrated very quickly because the mechanics there just don't make sense. They're awkward, weird, and I don't like them. The UI is already just average, on the verge of below average when you're scavenging, but it gets worse when you're in your base camp. You can't select a character without the camera shooting to them. Every time you click on something, it opens a menu forcing you to click on everything twice, including the character you want to do that thing, with tooltips showing up sometimes and not others, with awkward camera movements and, thanks to the bad graphics, making it even harder to notice anything, and basically controlling and managing your base becomes a big bother as the controls, UI, and overall design are just frustrating to deal with. Now, I've definitely seen worse, but it's not good here, and it needs to be tweaked a little for smoother gameplay experience. The entire process should be seamless and perhaps more streamlined just to make the whole thing more cohesive. Make sense? Basically, long story short, managing your base along with the exploration is insanely fun and a great idea, but very badly realized and needs some tweaking. But honestly, after racking my brain, those are really the only things I felt worth mentioning in the negatives. The game has flaws scattered here and there, sure, but it also has little amounts of buried treasure here and there. For everything wrong with this game, they did two things right. There's so much positive going for this game that while playing it, I pretty much forgave everything wrong with what I saw. I was really enjoying myself and quickly became addicted to it. It's just so different and unique from anything else I've played, which is really fun and interesting. I'm kind of upset that I'm only in a forest without any large post-apocalyptic cities, but who knows? Maybe those will be added later in or something. Yes, the game has some issues, I won't lie to you, but for $25, and with how much this game gets right and how much they give you, I think if you're watching this and you're even remotely interested, I would highly encourage you to definitely pick it up. It is a pretty safe investment, and I'd love to see these game devs get a lot more money so they could really take this thing to the moon and give me something intense, full of depth and content. So far, I'm just really enjoying it and really liking it, and so obviously I highly recommend giving this game a chance and trying it out. I highly doubt you'll be disappointed. Alright everybody, but that's all the time I got for today. Thanks so much for watching, with a special thanks to those of you stuck around to the end. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.